Hey there, and welcome to the We Talk You Win podcast here at Boyden and Youngblood BNY in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Nick.
And if you guys are first-time watchers here, we put this podcast together really to try to talk about some of the topics that we're seeing our clients are dealing with, some of the challenges they might be dealing with, some of the expectations or things that are happening in the marketplace as it shifts. We want this to be a resource for you guys where we talk about those things, share our knowledge, share our expertise, maybe bring in some other folks to share their areas of expertise too. And that's what this is all about, trying to share with you guys the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis to try to help you. I'm Dustin Hickel. I am the Director of Brand Development here at BNY. That means I oversee some of the sales work. I oversee our brand discovery process. I oversee kind of brand development at BNY. Also get a chance to do this podcast. So here we are. That's me, and this is Nick.
Yeah, and I am the sales director here at BNY. What I primarily do is I head out the outbound efforts for the company. A couple of the things that we wanted to talk about here today on this podcast is that we hope that the information on here will always be educational and useful. And the primary topic we wanted to touch base on today is websites and the importance of them and where they sit in today's marketplace. Mm-hmm. So if it's all right with you, Dustin, I'll jump right into the very first question. So, honestly, on a scale of 1 to 100, how important would you say is a company's website to the overall brand?
To their overall brand? Look, I mean...
big picture.
Yeah, big picture. I'm out of 1 to 100, I'm going 90. I'm going like all the way towards the top. Okay. I think a website is almost as critical as anything else that you put in the marketplace. I always talk about a website as being a company's digital front door. It really is a client or a prospect or a customer's first opportunity to walk through the front door and experience your company, your brand, right? So it's important for your website to communicate the right message, right? You have to make sure that if someone walks through the door of your actual physical location or through the door of your website, that they get the right feeling, the right sensation. Are you polished? Are you fun? Are you a little bit goofy? Are you super manufacturing heavy and focused on quality? Like your website needs to communicate that certain sensation.
And be consistent.
And be consistent, yeah. Because if someone goes to your website and then comes into the building and it's drastically different, you've got kind of a branding issue.
Yes,
right?
Yes, no, yeah. I would agree.
I think another thing that's important when it comes to websites really is using your website as a member of your sales team. I think your website really and truly can be one of your best sales reps, maybe one of your best employees. Because if you build it correctly, right, it can easily help a person who's in the discovery phase of potentially buying a product or buying a service, choosing a partner. They can help understand or communicate exactly what you're doing for them, exactly what your offering is, exactly what their options are, easily and quickly as a person navigates through the website. That would be like you and I, as people who are in new business and sales, suddenly being experts at video and website and graphic design and these other services that we offer at BNY, where you and I are professionals and we know enough. It would be like suddenly being a foot deep in our knowledge instead of 6 inches deep in our knowledge, right? So you can use a website that way. That's another way I think it makes websites super powerful and super important. And I also think it can be really valuable for making sure you're tracking the performance of some of your other campaigns, using it as an analytics tool. If you've got digital campaigns in market, or if you're running a television spot, or if you've got a billboard with a certain URL on it, or you've got a QR code somewhere, you need to be able to analyze and track those ad performance. And most of the time, those ads have some sort of digital URL attached to them. And so if you have the right systems built on your website, you can find out what's working well and what's driving people to your website. So all in all, I think it's kind of like that core central piece of every marketing campaign. But it's also really important to the brand overall because it tells a good story.
Which is interesting because as a regular consumer, as I've been in the marketing realm now for a little bit, I've understood the importance of a website. But from a consumer point of view, I've never thought as a website as being the centerfold of a company's big picture and the brand. So I think that kind of insight into just how important the centerpiece of your website and the outlying links and branches, that how everything flows into it, is a very interesting viewpoint, and one that I think is very important for all companies out there to understand and hopefully see that value.
Yeah.
Now, going into what I was just mentioning,
As a consumer.
As a consumer, right? As a consumer point
going.
of view, I unfortunately am on websites all the time looking at clothing brands, golf clubs, whatever, cars, houses, you name it, I'm always on there. And I can't help but notice, but one of the main pet peeves that I've had is load times. So when I get on a website, I hate it when I have to wait for all of the things and the pictures and the moving things to start syncing up so they can work. And as a consumer, that's kind of sometimes made me less interested in whatever they're offering. And I'm curious to know your opinion on what you think about the importance of load times on websites and how important it is to have a good, quick loading website to convert your potential prospects into buying customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Load times to me are critical. Having done hundreds and hundreds of website projects from a project management standpoint, that's one of the first things that I talk about with the development team, and it's one of the first things I talk about with clients. Let's not try to put too much information on there. Let's not try to have 55 PDFs. Let's not try to have huge images. Let's make sure that pages load quickly. And I think the most recent stat that I heard is I think it's like 40% of people will bounce from a site if it takes longer than 3 seconds for the page to load.
I know I contribute to that stat.
Right, yeah, thanks, Nick, right? Yeah, that's the thing. But like the load time is so important because if people bounce, then you probably have spent money somewhere or effort or energy or time somewhere to get that person to come to your website, right? You've spent money on a Google ad or a Facebook ad or an organic Instagram post, and put the link in the bio, right? All those things. You invested time, effort, and energy to get someone to come to your website. And if it takes 3 seconds, 40% of those people are going to not continue to let that site load and continue their journey through your site to potentially buy from you. That's a huge waste, right? You made a big mistake there, especially if it takes 4 seconds or 5 seconds or 6 seconds, right? That percentage just continues to increase. And so making sure that that load time is quick is really important. And I also think that, I guess another way to say it is you get one shot at a first impression.
Yes,
you get one shot at a first impression. So if you see a really cool, whatever clothing brand or golf club, whatever it is, for me it's always golf clubs, right? If you see a cool golf club ad and I click on it and it takes 4 seconds for that site to load and I bounce and I've never purchased from that company before, the likelihood of me going back is pretty low because now my immediate opinion of them is, man, this site takes too long, it's slow, I'm impatient, there's probably someone out there who can better serve my needs faster.
Right.
And I'm going to go there.
Right.
So you really have to pay attention to load speed. It's one of the most critical things, and that means sometimes making images smaller. That means, setting up lazy loading features, so different parts of the page load at different times, so that the top part of the page loads more immediately. I mean, there are that hook.
Yeah,
that hook. There are definitely things to do to make sure that load speed stays fast, but it is mission critical to any website project. So if you're thinking about doing a website project, make sure load speed is at the top of your list when you're talking with your developers.
Oh, which is crazy because there are external factors in websites that you can't help in terms of loading page. People's Wi-Fi, their connectivity, their mobile data. So it was nice that you listed some things that you can do on an internal company side to help combat with those varying external factors you can't control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I wasn't aware that you could actually segment website pages to load faster and to have the more difficult, complex stuff load slower. So, fantastic insight into, I guess I'm learning things about websites.
There's a lot to learn about websites, and they're very complex, and they can be very challenging, but it's highly rewarding if you do it right.
Well, and as you mentioned earlier, you said it's so important to get that first impression, that first hook with the right kind of information.
Yeah.
And speaking as I'm just devil's advocating as a consumer, the content on that website is so important to, I guess it depends what I'm looking at, but it's so important for me to see visually or be able to read or watch what I'm trying to find information on quickly. Yeah. And I guess that would lead me to my third question on the importance of readability.
Yeah.
And I would like to know your opinion on how important you think it is to also have that fast loading website that has simple, easy enough content to read, but still gets the relevant information across.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you hear a lot of like best practices in the marketing space where people say, write at a 6th grade reading level. That way it's quick to understand, quick to read, quick to move through the website. I think it's important to make sure that the content that is on the page that you direct people to, especially from advertising, this is a pitfall I see all the time. If you're doing an ad about a specific product or service, make sure that the landing page that those people go to has content immediately visible that's about that exact content that's in that ad. Otherwise, you've broken trust and you've created friction. So many companies put an ad out there and then link to the homepage or something like that, and then they're forcing that individual, that person, to have to click through the site to find the information that they should have been served from that ad. So that's one thing, pay attention to it. And I think the other thing is, one of the other pitfalls that I see a lot of companies do is just try to make their website all things to all people. It's like every possible PDF that we have, every possible review that we have, every possible spec that we have about our product or service, like let's just cram everything onto this site. And that's a mistake, I think. I think you can build certain pages and certain navigation through the site that allows someone who's deeper in the sales cycle or a little bit more interested in their buyer journey, who's looking for more of that intricate detail. You can have places for that, but most of your front-facing, most of your most obvious pages need to be quick. I always talk about it like treat your website like it's an appetizer, right? You're just trying to whet their appetite. You're trying to help them to understand, okay, one, what's in it for me? Two, can they solve the challenges that I actually am dealing with day in and day out? And is that readily and immediately available? Can I tell immediately that they can do what I need them to do? And the third thing really is remember that people are busy. People are busy. Like, if you are doing research at work, looking for a partner, like if you're looking for a marketing partner, you're looking at BNY's website, we try to remember that people are busy. We want the information to be there fast, quickly, and obviously, because maybe they have 5 minutes. Maybe they have 2 minutes to do this research and this homework.
They could have 30 seconds.
They could have 30 seconds, right? Everybody is wearing too many hats. Everybody is spread really thin. Everybody is trying to do more with less. And so just by being respectful of those people and the other people on the other side of that exchange, that information exchange, you're going to see more success. Like treating people like people, having empathy for them, and making the content easy to consume, easy to find, I think is mission critical to any website project.
That's fantastic. So it definitely sounds like you need to remember that websites are built for your audience and not necessarily you. And that's something that's very important for all companies to remember.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And so, honestly, Dustin, those are all the questions I had for you today. Great. So hopefully, if you folks enjoyed what you were listening or watching or finding it relevant to you, there will be a second part of this episode being released. So please stay tuned for that. And Dustin, is there anything else you would like to say to end this?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing to remember, and you're right, there's so much to cover on websites. We could probably do 10 episodes on websites, but we definitely want to do 2. Just remember those 3 tips. 1, be a resource for them first. 2, make sure your load speed is fast. And 3, make sure it's easy to access and easy to find. Make sure that content is readily and easily available for the people who are searching your site. Those 3 are some of the most important things on websites. And I tell you guys those things because I know how expensive and how labor intensive doing a website project can be. And we want to make sure that you don't waste that effort. If you are starting a website project and you are thinking about starting a website project, keep those 3 things in mind and stay tuned for episode 2, because we really think that these topics that we're going to cover off on are going to make sure that investment that you're making that much more valuable. Hey, and obviously, guys, if you have other topics that you'd like us to talk about on this show, please send them to us, get them on the website, find us on LinkedIn. We'd love to talk about the topics that you guys are facing day in and day out. What we're sharing here is really what we're seeing with our clients and our prospects and our conversations that we're having day to day. So hopefully this is valuable to you. Tune in next time, and hopefully we'll see you then.